as well. Now, as the NDA government takes charge for its third straight term, my colleague Anuj Singhal caught up with Morgan Stanley's Ridham Desai to understand how the new coalition government's policies could affect the market from here on. Listen in.
Well, two things have not changed in last 10 years. Narendra Modi is India's Prime Minister and Ridham Desai is as bullish on India as ever and as fit as ever as he was 10 years back. And Ridham joins us now ahead of his conference. Ridham will, of course, get to hear more from your conference, but, we've had the verdict. Narendra Modi is back as Prime Minister. We have Modi 3.0 loading now. And you're writing in a report that the next decade is going to belong to India. There are a lot of skeptics who believe that this time, because it's not just the BJP government and there is alliance government, could there be some roadblocks? You don't think that's going to be the case?
Yeah, I don't think so. I think we got spoiled in 14-19, but India's template for since 1989 has been of coalition governments, and this will actually be a very stable coalition. So I see this government working through the next 5 years. I don't see any shift in policy. Macro stability will be the key focus, along with building the supply side. These are the two things that this government will do. And essentially the idea is, can we take India's potential growth rate from 7 to 8 without triggering any inflation side effects? And I think this template will be the way the government will work forward.
Okay, when you say coalitions have done well in India, do you take example from 98, 99, maybe even 90, 92?
We can assuage ourselves by taking all these examples, but every situation is fresh. Those who are skeptical have to be reminded that reforms have to be carried out with the will of the leader, and it is not a function of how the government is structured. Okay. I don't see any change in this Prime Minister's will to undertake structural reform.
Ridham, last decade you had written this report that this is India's 401k moment, and domestic money is going to drive the Indian market from here on, just like it did in US market multi-decades back. Now that's come true. Do you think that's going to continue, and why are FIIs still not buying this market when there's so much visibility?
So I'll take the second one, right? There are only two cohorts in the market. There's a domestic investor and there is a foreign investor. Every single day, the domestic investor is putting money to work. So where's the space for the foreign investor to buy? Because in the market, you need one seller and one buyer. So I think the seller will emerge now, which is the corporate issuer. Okay. So corporates will start raising money, and that is how foreigners will get space to buy. So if you ask me for a prediction, which I'll make, I think in the next 6 months, foreign buying will return into India.
How much?
I don't have a number. It depends on the corporate issuance cycle.
Okay.
Actually. So I think corporate issuances will grow, and I see a robust primary issuance cycle because India's investment cycle also is picking up. So a lot of that funding will happen. So that I think is the second. On the first bit, I think we are still in early days. In the US, the household bid on US stocks lasted for just over 20 years. It started in 1980, ended with the Nasdaq bubble.
We started in 2020.
We started in 2015. Okay.
But most of the big money came post.
No, you have to start from 2015 because it goes like this only. It doesn't start from here.
So we can't choose the entry point.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
So it started actually in 2015, late 2015, and now I think we are in the 8th year. This has a long way to go because unlike the US, our demographics are not turning down in 10 years. In the US, demographics started reversing in the start of the millennium. And the baby boomers started retiring and they started withdrawing. That's not happening in India for the next 15, 20, 30 years. So we could have a very long change. And one of the things that I'm saying is that it's possible that the government may allow retirement funds to put more money. They're currently capped at 15 on incremental flows. The experience has been very good. They are able to deliver returns to their savers. So why not take this number up? So that is also possible. That only will give a lift to this.
Okay. So with Modi 3.0, are you saying that it's going to go down the same path like Modi 1.0, Modi 2.0 in terms of fiscal consolidation, in terms of spending where it's needed, and in terms of not necessarily going towards the populism route?
I see an acceleration actually.
Okay.
So, yeah, because COVID did derail some of the fiscal consolidation. I see India into a primary balance in 3 years, and India will be the only large country in the world with a primary balance. Primary balance is when you don't have excess of expenditure over revenue, so you are borrowing to pay interest costs. Technically, you are bankrupt if you're borrowing to pay interest costs. If a corporate has to borrow money to pay interest costs, that corporate is bankrupt. Governments do it because they can print their way out. Right? Our government will not have that deficit anymore.
Wow.
When that happens, government balance sheet will de-lever very rapidly because we have nominal growth of 10-11%. And if the government is not borrowing to pay interest costs, you get a major lift to private sector. So crowding in of private debt to GDP and crowding in of private investments will happen. And on other areas like infrastructure build, like energy transition, like manufacturing, I think it will accelerate further. We have so much more road to travel on this. It's not the end. It's not like we have achieved everything we want to. We're still a poor country. We still have only $2,500 per capita income. We should be targeting a 5-digit number. And that can only happen if we lift investments.
Exactly. That's been your point for last, I think, many years now. I don't want to preempt your conference, but so I'm going to end it quickly. In terms of portfolio positioning then, what do you think you should be going with right now? Mainly domestic economy oriented stocks?
Yeah, absolutely. Domestic cyclicals. I think the private banks look good. The consumption stocks across the spectrum look good. And wherever there is any room for valuation, just, that should be a great area to be. I think industrials look good. You have to be a bit selective because the valuations may be elevated in some places. And yeah, I think as a contra bet, IT services, I think continues to look good.
All right, Ridham, thank you so much. And of course, all the best for your conference. So we'll have a detailed conversation at that time. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, well, that's Ridham Desai. Interesting comments coming in from him with regards to the sort of setup for the market, which he thinks is going to be extremely constructive. Mitesh is with us with what he